like to welcome everyone to the January 11th, 2024 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. This meeting or hearings of the Conservation Commission will be held in person at the location noted in the agenda. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if we have technical problems that interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person attendance versus virtual attendance accordingly. Okay, so let's do the roll call and signify you're here. So I'll say present. Bill Boyven.
Present.
Rob Sheehan.
Present.
Ed LaTurco.
Present.
Kent Moffett.
Present.
Sarah Walensky.
Present.
Okay, Indra Deb, absent. And the chair, Larry Cohen, present for the record. Okay. The first thing, before we get to public comments, I'll make note of the fact that a well-known resident, Al Fay, recently passed away. Al was a longtime member of the Planning Board, the Select Board, and the Democratic Town Committee for many, many years on all three. His loss is keenly felt, and our condolences go to his wife Joyce and their family. Okay, now we are in public comment period. Do we have anyone? Let's go online at first and see. Is there anyone online who has something they would like to talk about?
Gary seems to be cutting in and out. Oh, there he is.
Who's here?
Gary Litchfield.
Can you hear me all right?
We can. So why don't you introduce yourself, and you can start talking, I guess.
Thank you. Larry, it's Gary Litchfield. Reason for my asking to speak on the public comments was regarding the new house that I built for myself at the end of Drake Road. We're all familiar with that. What we anticipated was that we most likely would not be able to move into the house until sometime next year, because although that we paid for all of the electric infrastructure that was needed back in May, when it came to October, when we needed to be hooked up, they told us they didn't know when they would be able to provide the necessary transformer. As a result, we had to slow the house down because we could not do things like the hardwood floors and coming into cold weather with no heat. Lo and behold, after me reaching out to them and saying, can you tell me, is it a month or 6 months that we're going to see this transformer? They said, no, we have no idea. We can't tell you. 2 weeks later, I get an email that says, we are going to have transformers and you will have one in 2 weeks. So we scrambled. We did go in, and the mitigation area was the question. We did go in and do the ground cover. That was part of our order. But we did not do the plantings because at that point we were into almost the second week of November. And Leah indicated it wasn't a good time to do that. We had agreed way back when, assuming that, of course, electricity wasn't going to be an issue, that we would get it done in this season. And when we applied for our occupancy permit and look for our signature, which we now need, that we would have it done. Well, the huge rainstorm that we had a few weeks ago pretty much destroyed the ground cover that we had done. At that point, we hadn't quite finished the stone trench along the driveway. And with the amount of water and the amount of rain that we got in that horrific storm, it did damage the area of the mitigation. We recognize that we need to go back in and redo that. Obviously, we can't do it this time of year. So reason for me being here is just to request that I can get a signature on it and that I can get an extension and within 6 months, obviously, actually 5 months would be more than enough, that we will go back as soon as the weather breaks and permits and redo the ground cover and do the actual plantings. Everything else is done. The driveway is in. I asked John to meet me up there to view it. You can see that it's pitched in the right direction. We did put the stone trench in all along it. It's about 400 feet long, and it's very adequate. And the snow and rain that we had recently didn't impact our mitigation area at all. We had no runoff into it, and no big water event that just covered it. So that being said, I'm pleased to answer any questions anyone may have. But at this point, I need to be out of the house that I'm in. My house, the new house, is completed. I think my reputation in town speaks for itself. I've been doing real estate projects since 1972. I'm not going anywhere. It is my own house. I think I've always kept my end of the bargain dealing with your commission, Larry, over the years, and see no reason why I wouldn't continue and get done what needs to be done. When we landscape the house, at the same time that we do the mitigation, we will also do the stone trenches around the house. And that's basically it to be done. And you can see there's a good picture of the stone trench that's done. And the hay bales that you see on the left have all been replaced. Those are all new hay bales done 2 weeks ago. So all of that was taken out and redone. And John saw that when he was there the other day.
Okay, very, very good. Thank you for those minutes. John, could you give us some comments, please?
Sure. So just to clarify, this is not a request for certificate of compliance. It's a request for an occupancy permit to get into the house. We're somewhat inconsistent in our requirements, in our orders of conditions. Sometimes we have requirements for people to do things before a certificate of occupancy. Sometimes we don't. We just have it before a certificate of compliance. It can go either way.
Does it make more sense to have these requirements before the certificate of compliance, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, you'd certainly want some milestones before the certificate of occupancy, and there's been several. I mean, the replication area has been graded. The land donation was finished and recorded. So
Remember how big that land donation was?
I think it was 1.5 acres, maybe?
It was.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, let me ask you this.
Clearly, the plantings can't be done now.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, it's just,
I mean, it's not practical for 3 or 4 months.
right.
Okay, and so essentially, if you denied it, you'd be asking him to hold up occupying it for 3 or 4 months.
Right.
All right, okay, so that makes the situation clear. All right, so normally we don't make decisions or debate something at public comment. In this case, it's somewhat of a specific but unusual request in the sense that the rest of the landscaping are at the wrong time of year to insist that he does it. That's the problem. So I'll go around and let's decide on something, I guess. Kent?
No, I mean, John pretty stated, I mean, the grading was done, the land donation, I mean, it's just kind of, it's like this time of season is just not very good for, planting and all that, so.
Actually, it's impossible.
Yeah, impossible, yeah, it's a better word, so.
Right.
I don't see it as an issue.
Sure. Okay, Bill, comments, please?
I agree. The basic stuff is accomplished, the drainage of the
Going anywhere.
driveway is accomplished. Those are important things. We've worked with Gary in the past, and we know that he'll get the stuff done. Plus, we still have the bond until it is done, so
Right.
I don't have a problem with any of that.
All right, okay, Rob, anything further?
No.
Ed, anything further?
I concur with what's already out
All
there.
right, I agree with what's been said, so it seems like a
forget
motion might be,
Don't forget Sarah.
oh, Sarah, I'm sorry, Sarah, I forgot about you.
You guys can hear me okay, but I don't have any concerns.
Okay, sorry, I almost missed you.
So just to clarify, the public, the this coming up in public comments. This just came up after the agenda was already published, and I suggested to Mr. Litchfield that this is probably the way to deal with it, since we don't have an agenda item, and he couldn't really wait another 2 weeks for the next meeting.
Right, understood. All right, so we'll have to do a roll call because one of our members is on the internet, so we'll do it that way.
Larry, before we do, may I just ask a question
You have a question?
of Gary? Is your stormwater management in place now?
Yes, in terms of obviously the wall was built and the drainage, which is really the stormwater management. The driveway was to pitch from right to left, and it was graded very well, and we checked it several times, and it drains into that stone trench that we did. When you were there, it was not done. It is now done in the picture. A couple of the pictures there showed it quite nicely. But it goes all the way to the top of the hill, and it goes all the way down to the very end of the wall.
And for the house,
So it is in there. So any water coming off of the driveway goes into that stone trench, and it prevents it from flooding, if you will, into that mitigation area.
but the house mitigation hasn't been finished yet, right?
Correct. The stone trenches around there, when we landscape it, at that time we will do the stone trenches around the house. And I would suggest that will be early, mid, late April, because we're anxious to get it landscaped, no question.
Okay, all set, Eileen?
Yep.
Okay. Could I have a motion from the commission to show the will of the commission to direct staff to sign the occupancy permit for Mr. Litchfield's house located at, what's the address now, Gary?
77.
77 Drake Road.
77 Drake Road. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Kent?
All right. Bill, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
The chair votes yes by a vote of 6-0. The occupancy permit is approved to be signed for this project. Mr. Litchfield.
I'm very grateful, and I appreciate the opportunity to come in and not have to wait 2 weeks. John, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
No problem. Glad we could help you out on this. Good luck with the house, and I look forward to the certificate when we can see what you've accomplished.
Thank you very much. We'll hopefully be back in by early June.
I know, and you'll have the bears ready, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Sure. All right. Next is public comments. Anything else from the audience? Or anyone online? Answer is no. Approval of minutes for December 14th, 2023. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th?
Move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? I'm sorry, I have to call. Bill, how do you vote?
I abstained. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so by a vote of 501, the minutes of December 14th are approved. Okay, next we have a request for certificate of compliance. This one is located at 10 Scott Avenue, and apparently the company is called 10 Scott Avenue LLC.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Phyllis Etzel. I'm here representing the owner to request a certificate of compliance at 10 Scott Avenue.
Okay.
And I believe the work is completed as required.
Right.
If you have any questions.
The commission was out there. It looks entirely different now. Okay. John or Aileen, do you have comments for the commission based on what we've seen?
Well, just to remind everybody, this was, Phyllis is applying for a COC for 10 Scott Ave. As you recall, there was 10 and 12 Scott Ave. One was built under a stormwater permit. One was built under a notice of intent because there's bordering vegetated wetland in the corner of the site and a little swale at the back. looks like they did everything as expected. My only question, which I think they addressed, was I asked some questions about the stormwater system, which you can see there because in the initial set of photographs, I wasn't seeing all the systems that I was expecting, but they have confirmed, right, Phyllis, that everything was put in as
Yes.
designed.
I did confirm that with the engineer, David Romero, and he was there during the installation, and 11 units were installed, 6 on the above set of units and 5 on the ones closer to the side of
Yeah,
the
they were
house.
split into 2 parts.
Yeah.
They've got the post and rail fence is in place as required, and the 2 native trees were there when we visited last week. So I don't have any issue with issuing this COC, and the bond was $3,500 if you're asking.
When we were at the site, did we see any miscellaneous trash? Was there a couple of pieces?
There was that one question, sorry, and which I had put on the drawings, on the pictures, sorry, where a few things were still kind of behind the fence, and we were going to ask about that, that's true.
And were they going to remove that, I think?
There was, some
Okay.
various bits of machinery.
Oh, okay.
So can we just ask you to take care of that?
Yes.
And I don't think it's going to affect what we're doing, but,
Okay, no, that will be removed.
okay. All right. So, Eileen, is there any reason to not issue the certificate?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. All right. Any comments from the commission at all?
Nope.
Could I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 10 Scott Avenue? Second?
Second.
Okay. Bill, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 600. The certificate of compliance for 10 Scott Ave is approved. The bond is how much?
At $3,500.
Do you see any reason to hold any portion of it?
No, we know where they are, they're in with us all the time, I'm sure they'll remove those. I don't have any reason to keep it. Those pieces, I mean,
We do know where they are.
yeah.
They'll be removed by next week.
All right, that sounds very suspicious when you say that.
Oh, yeah, and the erosion control can be removed as well.
Right. Oh, that's, I was going to ask you if it was all right to remove
Yes.
the silt
Yeah,
fence.
it's stable.
Good.
All right, could I have a motion for full release of the bond for 10 Scott Avenue?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Oh, wait, I can't do that. Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 600. Full release of the bond has been voted on for 10 Scott Ave by the commission.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, good to see you.
Good night. Same here.
Thanks, Phyllis, bye.
Okay, next we have a request for extension to order of conditions, Burlington Wetlands Permit, Town of Burlington, the DPW. This is for DEP number 122-394, and it has to do with stream cleaning. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Cohen and the other commissioner members. I'm Stephen Hildreth, one of the senior civil engineers for the town of Burlington. And as you said, Chair, I'm here to request an extension of the town's stream cleaning permit. Quick overview of our program. Yearly, the town of Burlington DPW Engineering Division intakes requests for a stream cleaning permit from residents. We go out, assess, look for built-up road sand within the streams, and add it to our program. Then when we are able to, we get in there with a Vactor. We suck out the road sand that is built up over the years and give back capacity. And the reason we use the Vactor is we try to use as little disturbance as possible to the surrounding environmentally sensitive areas.
And how would you rate the success of the program?
Overall, I'd say the program has been a great success so far. I think there's been a lot of positive feedback from the residents that we've helped out. Actually, just the other day, was out looking at a stream that was done last year, and the channel seems to be completely intact, and from what I was told, there was no channel whatsoever beforehand. So even with all those heavy rains and snow, it's operating the way it should be. So,
So you would hope that it would continue and be funded every year?
correct.
Right. Okay, that's good news. All right. Eileen or John, is there any reason why this request for extension should not be granted?
Nope. So this order was originally issued in 2005. There was actually a previous order before that, which I think maybe had expired. That's why this order of conditions was done in 2005. So this program has been going on since back around the turn of the century. And this is, I don't know, probably the 5th extension that you'll have issued. And it's a great program.
And it's 3 years we're looking for.
Correct.
Okay. Any comment from the commission on this? Okay, could I have a motion to extend the order of conditions Burlington Wetlands Permit to the Town of Burlington DPW, DEP file number 122-394 for the stream cleaning permit?
So move.
Second?
Second, Ken?
All right, Bill, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 6-0-0. The order of conditions Burlington Wetlands Permit for the DPW has been extended for 3 years.
Excellent, thank you very much. And for the record, Bill, I love the jacket.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, good to see you.
You too, thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. I guess we're on item 6. It's a continued public hearing for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for the Eversource utility right-of-way. It goes from Wynn Street to the Town Line Road, and it's to, this hearing was submitted by Eversource Energy, DEP file number 122-696,
696.
because it says pending on the agenda. Yeah. Okay, is there anyone here for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation from Eversource or their representative?
Good evening, David Hallowell from SWCA Environmental Consultants, here virtually.
All right, good to see you.
Good to see you.
You're welcome to say anything if there's anything to say.
I believe we're all set with everything. We received our DEP file number. The plans that were provided had all the latest information in them. So, I know we met out on site last week. Thank you for meeting us out there. I'm all set on my end.
All right, so in a nutshell, you're saying you have nothing further to say.
That's it.
All right, we like briefs.
Unless you need me to.
Okay, all right, that's good. All right, so Eileen or John, is there anything more to say about this abbreviated notice of resource area delineation?
I don't think so, no.
We're all set, the line has been agreed to,
Yes.
and any small adjustments have been made. I think there was one,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, we did go out on a site visit. Anybody want to comment at all about anything related to the delineation? The project is not in here for that. However, if you happen to have a parenthetical comment about what was discussed, I think you could certainly say that if you'd like. Kent?
Nothing to add.
Bill?
I just want to point out that I did watch the video. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did watch the video of this hearing and the next one, so I am eligible to vote tonight.
Excellent. Rob?
I thought the site walk and the visit was good and informative, and answered a lot of the questions.
Right. Ed?
Nothing to add.
Yeah, on my behalf, Sarah, did you have anything? I'm sorry.
I unfortunately had to miss the site visit. I really wanted to go, but I was too ill.
Yes.
COVID.
All right. So how are you feeling now, Sarah?
Better, but not all better. That's why I'm not there.
All right. Well, hope you get all better. How's that? All right.
The only thing I would say
is that the site visit gave us a better idea of the project to come. We know that's not on the agenda tonight, but I think it gave us a better idea of what the substantial project that Eversource is planning that at some point we will see before the commission. So thank you for that. All right, so we do have...
Just waiting for them to be...
Is there anyone else who wants to say anything about the order of resource area delineation for Eversource, the right-of-way?
I guess no one wants to talk further. Okay, so would you want to review the draft document, please?
Sure. So this is an order of resource area delineation.
Put the game on, okay?
It doesn't start till 7:30, so I feel like I'll probably be done by the starts.
Sure, that is.
It's okay. I don't think that was addressing us.
You have a draft document. The resource area findings basically say that the Conservation Commission agrees with the resource area delineation of bordering vegetated wetlands, isolated wetlands, which are protected under the Burlington Wetland Bylaw, bank of the intermittent streams and Mill Pond Reservoir, land under water bodies and waterways, which is under the Mill Pond Reservoir. Finds that there's no bordering land subject to flooding within the right-of-way. The commission finds there's no riverfront area under the Wetlands Protection Act or Wetland Protection Act regulations within the right-of-way. There is one stream on the regulatory streams map that does have a local riverfront area. That's down near Town Line Road. And the riverfront of that does extend into the right-of-way. The commission finds that a stream that's shown on the regulatory streams map in the area where you did the site visit between Locust Street and Wind Street doesn't actually exist. There's just a linear wetland without any bank, and the commission finds that there is no riverfront area in that area.
551.
Can you mute him?
Yeah, well, I'll try. It's hard to get back while I'm already sharing.
Let's see, I can try it. Steve Dresser. Mute. Okay, he's muted. Sorry about that. Additional resource area discussion. There are a few areas where the bordering vegetated wetlands are beyond the property line, and the areas weren't flagged because they didn't have permission to go on the properties. The commission finds that the buffer zone depictions on the plan are a reasonable approximation of the 100-foot buffer zone to the offsite wetlands. Additional findings, the commission generally requires surveyed wetland flags, but because of the large area involved, the commission accepts the locating of the flags via the use of sub-3-meter GPS. This is my recommendation that I put in these findings. Should the work in the future be proposed within the commission's no-build or no-disturb setbacks, the commission reserves the right to have specific flags to be surveyed as part of a new notice of intent review. So you might have a little bit more accuracy.
Is that language in here?
Yep, that's under additional findings.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then the decision is the commission, is issuing the order of resource area delineation, approving those resource areas.
Right. Okay, I think that's a reasonable precaution to have, reserve the right for additional delineation, just in case. Okay, so before we proceed approving this, Kent, anything further on this? Bill, anything further?
What was the time frame approximately before we might actually see an NOI? It was a couple of years, isn't it?
David?
That's a question,
Yeah, hard to say exactly, but I would say it'd probably be about a year before you'd see it. Yeah.
All right, Rob.
Anything further on this? And Ed, anything further?
Nothing.
Okay, so let's move ahead. Could I have a motion to...
I have a question.
Yeah, oh, Sarah, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. This is just to inform me, having established that there are these wetland areas present in the in the right of way. I just wondered, could you comment on the use of herbicides to control vegetation growth under power lines and whether that poses any impact to these wetlands? I mean, I realize this work absolutely needs to be done and that this just may be an irreducible problem. The answer is just, it's too bad, but we have to do it. But I wondered if you could just comment and for my own edification more than anything else. I'm not trying to throw a wrench in anything, just curious.
So, I mean, that, the vegetation maintenance, Eversource has a vegetation maintenance plan that's approved by the Department of Agriculture. So there's the, and there's multiple steps to that. Obviously this particular filing and then the project itself would be, separate from that. They do have more information online, and I could certainly work with the Eversource folks and get you some more information about their vegetation management plan. If that helps. I know I'm not. Does that answer your question, or at least
sure.
start?
I mean, I could probably do a little more reading. I'm sure this kind of thing is discussed online. So thank you.
Yeah.
So I can add something to that. So we do get a vegetation management
from Eversource yearly. And one of the requirements, they do locate the wetlands in the areas before they're going out and doing that, and they submit a plan to us that shows where the wetlands are, and they're not supposed to use the herbicide within 10 feet of the wetland. So, and generally, Eversource in the rights-of-way in Burlington have been using like backpack sprayers, and they're not doing really, they're doing selective herbicide use, primarily on species that will grow tall, and then they're doing a lot of cutting to maintain as well. So in the last few years, they've been doing a lot more cutting and a lot less herbicide use.
That's very interesting. I wasn't sure what.
They have to use crop dusters or something, but I guess
no.
not.
No,
It's very controlled. It sounds like.
It's a backpack and a
yeah.
Gotcha.
Like you'd use in your yard.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I think we've gone around to everybody. Did I ask about the audience too? I don't know if I did.
Not for this.
No,
I don't think so.
is there anyone in the audience that wants to, this is a public hearing for delineating wetlands along the right-of-way. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to say something? No. All right, so could I have a motion, therefore, to close the hearing on DEP file number 122-696? 696. Is there such a motion? Okay, second?
Second.
Okay. Sarah, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 600. The hearing on DEP file number 122-696 is closed. Next, could I have a motion to adopt the findings under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 for DEP file number 122-696?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Ken?
All right, Sarah, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. The findings are adopted, and the chair votes yes by 600. The findings are adopted. Could I have a motion to adopt the order of resource area delineation under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 in the State Wetlands Protection Act for DEP file number 122-696?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Oh, good.
All right, Sarah?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 600. The order for resource area delineation for DEP file number 122-696 is now approved. You're all set, folks.
Thank you very much.
All right, good to see you. We'll see you in about a year. Sounds good. Take care. We have a continued public hearing, notice of intent. It's for 14045 Wilmington Road, done by BMC Builders LLC. It was to demolish a dwelling and construct a new dwelling. It's DEP file number 122-695. Good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. I'm Ken Chisholm, I'm the owner of the property, and Steve Dresser is here representing as the engineer.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, so either one of you or both of you can start talking.
I guess Steve can start.
Steve Dresser, Dresser Williams Way, representing BMC Builders. This is a continued public hearing. We did go through this. There was some discussion. The only revision to the plan is we actually expanded the limit of work and result of straw wattles, so that we could, there's site distance issues that were of concern. So we've decided just to cut in that area. Just to refresh, this is stormwater management. There is an infiltration system in the back. We're tearing down a house and we're utilizing the existing curb cut on Wilmington Road. I mean, two-car garage in the front. So again, continued public hearing. The only changes is really to the limit of work.
Okay, thank you. Do you wish to say anything further?
The only issue I had was the, on condition.
You got there.
Oh, okay. On the condition, I was going to talk about the tree.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Well, if you have any issues with anything, we're going to go over the conditions.
Oh, okay.
And you'll get a chance to talk anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Eileen or John, do you have any comments? Do they owe us anything that hasn't been provided yet?
Well, they don't. As Steve said, we had asked them to extend the erosion control line, and that plan there is showing is the updated plan showing the erosion control line going right around the corner here, where they're going to do some more pruning, vista pruning, so that you could actually get a better line of sight for traffic. There was a question about invasives, and we didn't get back out there online, but, sorry, not online. We didn't get back out there to look with them. But to be honest, I think, and I was going to ask them tonight, I think most of the area in here within the limit of work is just going to be cleared. So everything is going to go, invasive or not. And I don't really think they were planning on touching anything behind the limit of work.
Correct.
Correct. There was just some discussion about perhaps clearing site walking and clearing some invasives, allowing us to do that at a future date if necessary. And I think that was initiated by the commission, not by us.
It was, and I did also Ken about that, in that it's going to be kind of a losing battle. You know, they could go in and they could remove XYZ behind the limit of work, but then you'll be relying on the homeowners to keep that up. I mean, what do you think, John? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, things like buckthorn, you could go remove it. There's going to be buckthorn again in 2 or 3 years. And it's better to just establish a limit of work and let it rewild itself, and whatever survives, survives, because it's a small area and it's surrounded by other areas that are filled with invasives, so it's not like it's knotweed or something like that. It's mostly like...
What's the difference if it was knotweed? What are you referring to? Japanese
knotweeds grow in like colonies, and you could potentially eradicate it, although it's very difficult. Things like buckthorn are just diffused all through the forest. They're everywhere. They're not just like in one clump. They're just spread throughout. So like,
do you know what
they're easily spread by burying?
Do you know what they have out there?
My recollection, we looked at the wetland report.
Buckthorn.
Yeah.
So it would be hard to really do anything meaningful.
Right.
Unless they want to give it a try on their own.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Ken we do have some questions just about the number of trees, which we'll get to when we come to that point, because I was kind of estimating, and he went out and got a better count for me.
Okay. Is there anything else that they owed us at all? Are we ready to
No, all we really had asked for was just
Extend.
the invasives and then to extend the erosion control line.
erosion control line, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so let's see if the commission has anything further on this. Kent, do you have anything more on this one?
Just about the trees, but they're going to address it in the order of conditions.
All right, Bill, did you have anything more?
I do. I was not here at the previous meeting to bring this up, and when I watched the video, I saw that it was not addressed. In the upper left corner, that outside the limit of work and closest to the wetland flags, we talked about a bunch of brush being there and stuff, and basically just going to leave it as is. But I'm just assuming that when somebody moves in, they're immediately going to clear all of that because it's their yard and they want to expand, and there's no demarcation of where the 20-foot no disturb exists. So, I would like to see, some kind of a post and rail or something at the 20-foot and that, just blocking off that corner to show whoever moves in that it is indeed a protected area, because otherwise they may have no idea the flags are off their property. It's not going to be clear to whoever decides to maintain that property.
Well, part of the 20-foot no disturb would be, that line would be off their property too.
Right, but only on their property. I mean, the fence would go somewhere like that.
Yeah. Post and rails in here. It's in the conditions.
20 feet into the woods, basically, because we're only clearing up to the 40. I've oftentimes seen like maybe just posts out there with some signage on it, 4 or 5 posts just to make people aware what's back there.
See, what you're talking about is what the future may bring.
The owner wants to clear, and you want something.
What the concern is, yes.
If a developer were clearing it, we would some kind of demarcation or requirement.
Right.
So the fact that they're not, and the next person might, it would be nice for them to be aware that it was protected area.
We had actually put something in the draft about a fence at the 20-foot line, so we can alter that when we get to it.
We can.
Okay, we're going to have to look into it.
Have a discussion.
Ken reminded me, I had forgotten it was in there.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in the conditions now.
Okay, I didn't get a
May
chance
not
to
be a
look at
fence,
this.
maybe something else.
Whatever we
Yeah,
can.
we can tweak it, maybe.
Thank you.
Very good point. Okay, anyone else? Rob, did you have anything on this one? Ed, anything more on this one? I don't have anything either.
Sarah?
So, and Sarah? Sarah, anything?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, all right. Okay, so is there anyone in the audience? This is an open public hearing, and this is for location 145 Wilmington Road. Is there anybody, a butter or otherwise, that has a comment about this project? All right, the record should show the answer is no. All right, so we have some draft documents. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Why isn't it sharing? Okay, share something else. I thought I was. That's the order of conditions I want. I want to start with the bylaw. Come on, switch over. There we go. Start with the bylaw because it describes the plan a little bit better. So a notice of intent was filed for demolition of the existing dwelling and construction of a new single-family dwelling within the buffer zone. The project also included installing an infiltration bed, grading and clearing of trees and brush from an overgrown yard. And although it didn't actually propose planting trees, we're suggesting that because they're taking out quite a few trees, you might want to add in some number. So for right now, we'll say X, and we'll go back to that. Impervious surfaces would be increased by approximately 1,200 square feet, which is about 5%. We list the plan documents, which was last revised on January 4th. I think we updated that. Oh, by the way, Steve, could you drop us in a hard copy of the plan, please? Thank you very much. The proposed work would be within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland, the closest point being about 77 feet from the BVW, and the closest disturbance, those being tree removals and stormwater chamber installation, would be about 40 feet from the BVW. They propose to infiltrate most of the roof into a bed of StormTech chambers and the remainder of the roof and the driveway into a stone trench. And then please provide photographic evidence of installation. And just we mentioned something about the groundwater because I was just trying to memorialize the fact that the infiltration system will be going 2 feet above the groundwater. So this will also count as a stormwater permit. I keep forgetting to change that. It's actually under Burlington's stormwater bylaw now, not the erosion and sedimentation control bylaw. So let me switch over to the other one now. Oh, sorry, and we're proposing a bond for $2,500. And then under the order of conditions, which start from 21, which is very confusing, I admit.
Oh, yeah, no, I appreciate that you did that. Yes.
We had a little to and fro about this earlier because 0 to 20 to 19 are the DEP standard ones, which can't change. So these are just the ones that you're allowed to alter. Again, we're going through the same plan references, and most of these are very much standard, and Ken and Steve have seen them, but we will discuss a few things as we go along. The order permits work within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and no other work. Standard. Then pre-construction conditions say that they will install their erosion controls per the plan. They will come back to us and we will approve the erosion controls, make sure the DEP number is in place, and that anything else that's required is ready to go. Dumpsters, so on. Materials shall not be stockpiled within 50 feet of the wetlands, nor at a location that would allow materials to run into the streets, and stockpiles should be 20 feet from the street. And then keep the street clean, that's number 35, just sweep. Going down to 36 and 37 are just about also put silt sacks, if there's a catch basin right next to the house, which I don't remember if there was, and that we reserve the right to require additional erosion control if deemed necessary. For work involving filling and grading, it's just saying you should go by the plan unless something else is approved. The pollution control ones are all standard. It's just mostly saying that don't dump anything into the wetlands, and if there's any spills or please let us know and let the Board of Health know. No pesticides, herbicides, fungicides to be used within 100 feet of wetlands. Then the stormwater shall be infiltrated into a field of 18 StormTech units. Applicant shall provide photographs of the stormwater management system being installed and shall provide the new buyers with a copy of the O&M plan, which you did provide to us, and the inspections and cleaning specified in that plan shall be performed in perpetuity. We had suggested that a post and rail fence shall be installed in front of the BVW line across the rear of the lot. So you may want to stay in front by some
Why don't we stop there and just talk about it?
Yep.
Okay, so this says post and rail fence. Bill, you brought, okay, shall be installed in front of the BVW line across the rear of the lot. I think it should say 20 foot. Whatever we do should say 20 foot.
Right.
No disturb, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Steve was pointing out that puts it right in a fairly dense, isn't that still pretty dense back there?
Well, I think there's only one flag on the actual lot.
Right.
There's only the first flag, and then the rest of the flags are on someone else's property. So just flag 1A is the only one that's on the actual lot. So I don't know, maybe just angle it.
But the 20 feet, right. So I think the question just was, is a fence
Here's the
right?
thing. You're going to have a post and rail fence halfway across sort of the width of the lot, even though, because it would go into somebody else's property.
Yeah, we can't do that, obviously.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
So, what do we do here? Bill, you want to, any suggestion?
Well, my suggestion is to put the fence on their properties as much as you can, within the 20, along the 20 foot.
Okay.
Angle it, yeah.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah, and just stop on the line.
You can just angle it on the line.
And also tell them where their property line is.
Take a photo of it.
Anyone else think it's?
If I could.
Yes.
My concern about that is it's pretty thick in there. So installing a post and rail fence might not be the easiest thing to do in the middle of that thick, gnarled up thorns and ivy and buckthorn and all that. Intent is just to warn what I've seen down is just like some posts where you just, instead of the post and rail, you just do 5 or 6 posts with the sign on it. And you can put them, the same place you're talking to, but it ends up just, you're not disturbing really any of that, the plants that are in there that are kind of all gnarly in that spot. You definitely have to do some cutting to put a post and rail fence through that.
I wouldn't be so concerned about that, but my concern would be that you put that
Rail fence, and people are going to see that as an invitation to extend their lawn back to that fence, whereas that's an area that's naturally vegetated now. Once you put a fence back there, people are going to think, oh, well, we can bring the lawn back to that fence.
Right.
That's where they see. That's what they see in everybody else's yard. The Conservation Commission makes them put up a post and rail fence, and that's the edge of their
But don't we
lawn.
typically not regulate between 20 and 40 feet? We don't, other than it's a no-build zone, right?
Right, but we
At the
don't-
40-foot line.
John's point, if you don't want to invite them to do it.
Right.
So just a couple of posts with signs saying this is a protected area would be more nebulous than just say, don't touch this area.
You can leave it
Just the
general.
signage.
But they could theoretically, without concerning the commission, they could clear back there, even though we prefer they didn't, down to the 20-foot line.
Well, they have to file.
Right, they would need to file for cutting vegetation in the buffer zone.
Right.
Right,
I understood that not everybody's going to understand that.
exactly.
Right.
You might want to put posts at the 40-foot line.
That's even better.
That's probably even better.
Post with signs, you're saying.
Post but not a fence?
The post with signs, so you're not, so you're telling where it is, but at the same time, you're not,
What would the sign say? No vegetation cutting, or cutting of vegetation behind these posts require
Just wetland, do not disturb.
Yeah.
wetlands do not
Protected
disturb?
wetland or something, whatever the standard sign is.
Some sort of, I mean, there is pretty typical language
Okay.
that we've seen.
yeah, say something like protected area,
Yeah.
clear without permission of the Burlington Conservation Commission.
Does that sound feasible to you, John?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about you? You brought
I like
it up.
that, that's fine. If it's going to be on the 40-foot with the limited workers, that's ideal.
And can have some posts without having the rails and all that.
Yep.
You okay
Are
with
you
that?
okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
We should ask Ken, because he's going to put it
Okay.
installed along the...
So I think we're all set on that one. Let's,
So we're actually saying shall be installed at the limited work sign, at the limited work line?
yes, at the limit of work line, posts.
Post with signs. I might add something about the signs, posts. No, remove the part about the new fence shall not have gates, and this demarcation shall be maintained in perpetuity and noted on the certificate of compliance. I actually should have let Ken speak earlier, because we didn't really describe that with all the clearing. I wasn't sure how many trees they were removing, and Ken went out earlier today, I think, and took account, and it's around about 20 trees, not all of which are in great shape, I assume.
No, the trees are, I sent some pictures to you. You saw those pictures.
Oh, I didn't actually see the pictures.
Yeah, we brought them in, remember?
Oh, sorry, yeah, that time.
Yeah, it's close to 20, because I think there's 6 or 8 right up front by the street that, just for the sight line, there's 6 or 8 right in that corner, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's
So
pretty...
20 in total, including,
All right. So the removal of 20 total trees, including sightline trees, is approved, is permitted?
yeah, but then I was suggesting that you might want to maybe ask for some replacements, but that's in question. That number is kind of up in the air.
Let's toss out a number, half a dozen trees? Is that, it's a relatively small lot area.
Yeah, if they're native trees that are going to get big, I mean, 12, what was wrong with 12?
I had suggested 12, but that was just putting it,
But I think a lot of them were small trees that are in tough shape, I thought.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was cleared at one time. I think it was all gardens, so it's just like, kind of like a jungle. The trees they're not in good shape. I mean, the only trees that are in good shape are to the left of the property, and we're leaving those, because there's a nice stand of them on the far left, you know, a buffer. But, you wouldn't walk out there and say, I'd like to save that tree. There's not much value with some of them, the way they're growing sideways, or there's vines all over them, you know?
No. All right, so,
8 in between, kind of split the
eight's
difference,
good.
kind of?
Good compromise.
8?
Sure.
I mean, I think honestly, if 8, you're out there and 8 doesn't make sense, you can come in and talk to the staff and decide what to do if it didn't make sense. So one,
You want 8 trees replanted, you're saying?
Yeah, somewhere on the side, anywhere on the side.
Just like random, I mean, obviously.
Well, you can come and talk to us, but
Yeah.
yeah.
How does that sound?
It could even be, in front of where those markers are going. You could put some back there where you've taken out the brush. Okay, so we seem to be agreed on 8 native trees shall be planted as replacements for the vegetation removed. Species and locations shall be determined in consultation with conservation staff. The tree shall be monitored for 2 full growing seasons, and those that fail to survive shall be replaced. And then conservation shall not sign off on CO prior to installation of plantings and site stabilization. The site stabilization part is pretty typical for a CO. It's just, I know we had that conversation with Gary Litchfield earlier. That was a slightly different situation because he was replicating a wetland. And then we just go on to describe how you go about getting your certificate of compliance, which Steve is very familiar with.
Okay, so do you, sir, Mr. Dresser, do you have any further comment on this, or a lot of this is, Mr. Dresser, you've seen most of these conditions many times.
Yes.
My only thinking is on the 40-foot where you want the post, I sell the house, right? And then somebody cannot use that property, right? In other words, Burlington allows you to go within 20 feet, right? So that's an extra 20 feet that they can't do anything with, you're saying? I don't know if that would be, I'm just looking down.
Require a permit.
They would have the right to go back, if they felt compelled to do that, they would have the right to go back in to the board and petition the board to do that.
Right, because if they're removing vegetation that close to the wetland anyway, they should be coming to us.
Within 40 feet, you're saying?
Yeah.
Within 100 feet, yeah.
It's actually within 100 feet.
Yeah.
Even including like tree removals or something, so.
Okay.
So you'd have to come in anyway to discuss it, and it's either so minor it doesn't get brought up, or it's a
Request for determination or something.
Okay.
Okay with that?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
All right, so we're all set for now. How about Kent, you all set? Bill, anything further?
Just a general question. We issue an order of conditions like this, and there's a number of things, and this is not just for this particular applicant, but for in general. There'll be a number of things in there that say in perpetuity. How is the owner, the new owner who buys the house, notified of all this stuff? How are they made aware of these in perpetuity requirements for their property?
Well, this is on their deed, right?
Yes.
It's registered at the registry of deeds, and do they get a copy when they check the title or something?
Should, right.
Yes, they would get a
Their
copy.
title attorney should find it. And when there's a certificate of compliance, the certificate of compliance lists the perpetual conditions by number, and that's recorded as well. So,
Assuming
I mean,
they read all
it's a
of it.
valid point, and when people buy a house, sometimes they're signing stacks of paper like this, and they're signing.
They get no other notification from the town, any department that sends them something saying, congratulations, you now bought a property that has some restrictions.
Right.
Well, that's part of the education that, we talked about education. That is a project we've been working on a little bit, but it just takes a while. So I have been going back, we actually had one of our interns sending out some letters to people who maybe got, projects that we approved maybe 5 or 6 years ago, just to say, you may not be aware of this, you do actually have wetlands in your backyard. An order of conditions was issued in 2020.
It just seems an easy way to take care of it would be from going forward, anytime we get one, we make sure to send a letter to the new owner.
So, I mean, it's easy to actually handle the first transaction from the builder.
Right.
We could actually put in a requirement. We could have a form that spells out the conditions and require in the order of conditions that the builder, the applicant, have that form signed and by the buyers and returned to us. We could do something like that.
Yeah.
Subsequent sales are really difficult because, we're not on top of every real estate transaction, and
Correct.
we're not notified. But we could figure out a way to get the initial people to be given something and sign it.
I think that's
And I don't know if we have time, well, we don't have time to put it on this order of conditions, but going forward, we could come up with something.
Okay, thank you, that would be good.
So Eileen is making a note of that on her to-do list, I can see.
Yeah.
I guess one other question I would have is like 8 trees is a little, like, what about like size? Are they 4 footers? I mean, do I come in and talk to conservation and then?
Yeah, it says talk to conservation about species and locations, so we can also talk about size.
Yeah.
We're not usually too concerned about size when it's a buffer zone.
Because they grow.
project like this, because they grow.
Yeah. All right. I just, I just wanted to clarify it. That's all.
Yeah, we don't want like $300, 15, 20-foot trees.
That's what I'm saying. That's like, that's where my mind was going.
Not
It's like,
necessarily, no. Well, if you
know
want to
what
put
I'm
them in, that's fine, but
Yeah.
we won't
No,
we
that's-
won't make you.
No, that's fine.
Normally, it's like a typical diameter is what, 1.5 inches? And the height is typically, that you can get 4 feet? 4 feet.
Yeah.
That's why we also have the 2-year
Yeah.
requirement that they still are alive after 2 years.
Yeah.
To make sure that even though they were small to start with, they're still viable.
But if you wanted to put in 8 to 10 footers, I mean, I suppose we wouldn't object.
All right. I just wanted to clarify that. That's fine.
Okay, all right, so, all right, Rob, anything more? Sarah, anything more in the order?
No.
Ed, anything more? I think we've gone around, okay. So, and was there anybody in the audience for this that had any discussion before we close the hearing? No. All right, then could I have a motion to close the hearing on DEP file number 122-695? Second?
Second, Rob.
Okay. Sarah, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. The hearing is closed by a vote of 6-0. Could I have a motion to adopt the findings under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 for the project at 145 Wilmington Road? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All right. Sarah?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. By a vote of 6-0, the findings are adopted. Next, could I have a motion to adopt the order of conditions under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 in the State Wetlands Protection Act for the property at 145 Wilmington Road?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Kent?
All right, Sarah?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so it's by a 6-0. The order of conditions is approved for 145 Wilmington Road. And the performance surety is recommended for what? For a house?
2,500.
Okay, that's very typical. Could I have a motion to request the posting of performance surety of $2,500 under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 for 145 Wilmington Road?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Anybody have a question on this one? No? Okay, Sarah, you're okay?
Yes.
All right, so Sarah says yes on this. Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And chair votes yes by a vote of 6-0. The applicant is required to post $2,500 surety under Burlington Bylaw Article 14. I think we are all done.
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck with that project.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Yep. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you,
I suspect
Mr.
it will be
Tresser.
a vast improvement over what's there.
Good night. Yeah, that will be a big improvement.
It'll be a big improvement over what's there, that's for sure.
Oh, right.
Okay. Okay, next, we have violation for 10 Spring Valley Road to discuss an enforcement order for tree cutting. Thank you for waiting. All right. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Howdy,
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Doug Verboy, 10 Spring Valley Road in Burlington.
All right, good to see you tonight. So would you like to say anything before we get started?
No. There you go.
Okay, all right. All right, so Eileen or John, would you like to give us some comments on this one?
Okay, just to remind everybody of what I had said the last time. Mr. Boyne came
into the office in August of 23, asking about the process to remove trees. I told him what the process was. I didn't hear from him, and then in October, I heard about tree cutting happening at Spring Valley Road, and when I went out there, it was Mr. Ravoyne's property, taking down some trees in that area that's marked. It doesn't show up very well on the overhead, marked by the blue circle. I didn't actually count them, maybe 10 or 15 trees. We were told that the trees were not in very good shape, but we didn't get a chance to see them. Definitely, we can see some damage in the centers of some of the trees. So at least some of them were maybe not in great shape, but there were also some trees taken down right close to the bank.
He's been blowing leaves and yard waste onto the bank of the stream and storing his business materials there. So we had delayed this so that you all could see the property, and we invited him back in to chat some more.
All right, so could you explain for the benefit of the commission and the applicant the value of what is out there, the bank, and it's a riverfront as well?
It is riverfront. You can actually see the channel here. It's right at the end of his property. So riverfront area has a number of values, and what we're really trying to do is just protect that habitat. It needs shade. It provides habitat for all sorts of animals in various different seasons.
And it's a protected area?
It is a protected area. The whole 200-foot riverfront area is a protected area in Burlington, not just for perennial streams that are identified on the Wetlands Protection Act, but also for all those streams that we have identified under our regulations.
Could you also explain
Which one is this? Is this
Is a regulatory, yes, it's a local.
Okay.
Could you explain the value of the shade that is provided to the adjacent stream and immediate area?
Well, I think you could probably do a better job yourself, Larry, but animals, in particular the aquatic animals that live in the stream, do need shade. They need a cool area. They need to have adequate oxygen and appropriate amount of vegetation in the stream for optimal life. Different types of animals do like different conditions, having said that, but mostly freshwater fauna like to have a pretty well oxygenated and a fairly well flowing stream.
And a cool stream.
And a cool stream. So we don't want a lot of extra leaves and other material being blowed in. We don't want, that's part of why we don't want runoff going from parking lots, because that does also change stormwater can change the temperature in the streams. Did you want something more scientific than that?
I think you did a good job. That was fine. So would you say that it is not good to have a riverfront area that is cleared of shade, of trees, and stuff stacked on the bank? It can't function the way it's supposed to be for protection purposes.
That is correct. That is correct. You're losing habitat, you're losing protection, you're losing some of the benefits that all of those things provide to the stream itself and to the area around the stream.
So when that happens, we have essentially a violation of state law. Is that correct?
Correct.
And we have a violation of local bylaw. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
Is there a state law here? I thought you said this was only local. Is there a violation of state law, or is that because of the...
Well, there's still protection within 100 feet of a bank.
Even on a locally regulated stream? Or is that just the wetland?
Intermittent streams have banks under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's state law and local bylaw that it's a problem for. So before we move on to what to do, does anyone want to comment on the situation further at all? Kent?
No, I think staff covered it pretty well as far as the benefits to the.
Ed, you want to say anything further?
Just something that I might add to is that there's so much slate there, it's going to absorb a lot of heat in itself that would add to this problem.
And so it adds to the problem of keeping things cool. All right, Rob, you want to say anything further? I'll go to Sarah after you.
Does the, I'm looking at the FEMA sort of floodplain for the area, and it's sort of,
It's also in the floodplain, you're right.
but that sort of,
That is another resource area.
yeah, then the Sawmill Brook is a regulatory floodway. Is it, well, that is,
The
that's
floodway,
different from the WPA and
the floodway is a different designation. The floodway is, what's the actual definition of floodway? The area that will always flood? There's some actual definition.
Floodway is the high velocity zone.
High velocity zone.
the actual flow, and then topographically, in the 100-year.
It's
that's
right.
sort of different.
Topographically, it's probably the lowest, the floodway, but that is part of the 100-year zone. That's like a subset.
All right, so Ed, did I call on you? Okay. Sarah, you have any comment on the situation as we have seen it?
Just that my recollection of the original conversation we had regarding this when it first came before the commission was that these trees were supposedly pose a threat to the house. I'm just saying it looks like there's an awfully long distance between the trees and the house. Just laying that out there, just a comment. It's hard to believe that that would be a realistic reason to cut them down. I'm just wondering why this was done, but I mean, I sort of pointless, I guess, to ask now. It was done.
All right, let me go to Bill if you're done, Sarah.
There was a large number of trees, a significant number of trees cut in the inner riparian area next to the stream. And there were other trees planted, but they are ornamental fruit trees, and they're not in a location to really benefit the stream. So that's the first thing, I think, that they don't really replace the trees that were cut in terms of the benefit to the stream. The other question I have is, or the statement I have is, besides cutting trees, I mean, you're operating a business and storing construction material in 20 foot from and 10 feet from a bank of a protected area. That's completely unacceptable. Do you have permits to operate a business and store construction material on your property from other parts of the town?
First come in, they said it's okay. And it's slate, it's not fire, it's fireproof, it's product, and it doesn't burn or anything, it's just.
But you realize it is within an area that's supposed to be protected from the stream.
Area.
I understand that.
Area.
Yeah.
I couldn't put anything in.
Now you do. So, that stuff should all be removed from that area of the proximity to the stream. And that, officially there's a 100-foot area that's protected next to the inner riparian, the most sensitive area of a stream. So I think that construction material needs to be removed, and we need to plant some new trees that are native trees along the stream.
The trees were dead that I cut. I watched them for 40 years. They get dead. And there's 2 more trees up there that are also dead. The tops, the branches are falling, all the bark is off of them. One has a hole in the bark itself, it's like a disease or something, and those 2 trees should come down.
Well, perhaps that's correct. I mean, you may very well be correct, but in normal situation, if there's an area that's sensitive and people have trees that they want to take down, we say, if a arborist agrees, we say, sure, go ahead and replace them. So, these trees should be replaced.
Yeah, the thing I'll say is what we're talking about is not really a penalty, which may be how you're perceiving it. This is not a penalty. If you had came to us and asked for a permit, and we agreed that it was obvious the trees needed to come down because they were either damaged or deteriorated, you would have normally gotten a permit to take down damaged trees, but we would have had an order that ordered replacement of trees because of how sensitive the area is and why it's protected under state law and local bylaw. So what you're hearing is, even if you had come for the permit, you are sort of receiving the kind of dictates that would just normally happen this way anyway, that we would be asking you to plant trees and recreate the shade that was taken down, and the bank would have to be cleared. No one is allowed to store that kind of material on a bank because the area is used for nesting of animals that are in the stream. They come up and use that area, and that's why it's protected. It's a wildlife habitat that is not just in the stream, but the area adjacent to the stream is used for nesting and habitat, and the state offers protection and the local bylaw offers protection for that. So that's the reason.
Is there footage? How many feet from the stream? 15, 20, 30, 100?
Eileen, you want to answer that, perhaps?
Well, I'm not sure what the question is. Anything within a riverfront area, you do need to get permission for. Are you talking about where can you store your stuff? Is that what you're actually asking? Well, we have a 20-foot no disturb for wetlands and a 40-foot no build. So I mean, John, do you have a suggestion? I think that you should have them clear everything within at least 20 feet. Move it back from there.
I think we almost have to.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to suggest maybe you folks, the staff needs to go back on the site and come back with a recommendation, or instead of the distance.
Or can we just establish that now?
I think we could say at least 20 right now.
At least 20.
I think John's trying to share something with you, but I'm not sure what
But if he's going to move it, you want to make sure this is where we want it, not a temporary, you can't just say 20 feet and then say, no, we meant 10 more feet. We can't do that. That's not.
It's too much work.
That's too much work. That stuff's heavy.
That sure is, yeah.
So.
How long has that been there, your slate? How long have you been storing slate there?
Pardon me?
How long have you been storing the slate there behind those trees, behind the shed?
40 years. Firefox,
Really?
but then it's not giving you.
He's been doing it for 40 years?
40 years. Since I started the slate, yeah. It took 40 years to get that much slate, but yes, I started with a small amount, and every year I accumulated slate. Now I'm retired, so there's no sense.
This may be obvious, but if you didn't want to take the trees down, I guess we would never know about the slate being stored there.
We wouldn't know.
No, we wouldn't.
No, the trees are totally different. I like trees. I don't mind trees at all.
Yeah, but see, this area has to have trees. That's the problem. As a requirement of our local bylaw and state law, that area has to be kept shaded if it was already shaded. Okay, and so taking the trees down took away the benefit of those trees.
Right. And John was also.
Here's
sorry.
a Google image. I mean, there was a lot of vegetation, a lot of trees there. I mean, they weren't dead in this photo. It says
What kind of a tree should I put up? Should I put up 100-foot trees?
No.
No.
That's what I mean. They're going to fall down. They're going to destroy everything they did.
If you want to spend money for a 100-foot tree, we'd be delighted. No, normally tree replacement is 4, 5, 6 feet high, 1.5 inches diameter, this big.
Okay.
I mean, they're not outrageously expensive, and I'm told that that's all you can really get, practically speaking. There's a kind of a shortage.
So I can't plant a fruit tree there?
No.
Okay.
Unless they're native.
Unless they're native fruit trees?
Plus, I mean, it's also incumbent on every homeowner to actually take care of their trees. You know, I mean, I think Bill said that before. You have to keep an eye on them. You have to have an arborist take a look at them, prune them.
Right.
If they need to be pruned, you know, you don't have to wait until they're in bad shape and potentially dangerous.
When I was out there, I was under the impression that close to 30 feet could be obtained by moving the material outside of 30 feet. Did anyone have that impression, or did you feel it's only practical 20 feet, given the way the site is?
I didn't really notice the specific distances when I was there. It would be good. I just,
Want me to reshare?
using the regulations to say 20 feet.
If you want, let me reshare my photos again. It just might give you, some better ideas. I think 30 feet would be fine too. Where am I gone? I'm sharing WebEx. I don't want to share WebEx. Share. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Come on. Scroll down. All right, this one here kind of gives you one of the bank edges. If you removed all that slate and the tarps, that would give some room to plant some trees back there again.
Right. So
All back out at least 30 feet.
is 30 feet reasonable, in your opinion, Eileen?
I think it's a good start, yeah.
Okay, because once we set it, that's what we have to live with.
So you mean 30 feet from top of bank, correct?
Top of bank. And, okay, so we have that. We're going to ask you to remove the slate out of the 30 feet and leave that undisturbed. And
And the yard waste.
What, 30 feet?
from the bank of the stream.
From the bank?
From the bank,
30 feet back from the bank?
right,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Everything, all the slate back 30 feet?
Yes.
Yes, yes. If there's a reason why that can't be done, you can come in and talk to the office, and they can discuss it with you if there's something that is infeasible. But we'll set it at, I think, at this point, I think the commission is looking to set it at 30 feet. And now it's time to talk about what needs to be planted. I guess, how many trees?
12?
12?
Which is approximately what was cut
Yeah.
on the low end.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was at least
Yeah.
that.
when this is done, our policies require a one-to-one tree replacement. So if we grant permission, this is for everybody, not just you. If we give permission to take down one tree, then the owner is required to replace one tree in that area, in that 30 feet. So if you took down 12 trees, we're setting the number at 12 trees to be replaced because of the policy that applies to every resident.
Okay. Does that include those 2 trees I think should come down?
Which trees is that? Is that trees you already took down?
Yeah, the trees, not the trees that took down, the tall tree that's going to fall and it's falling apart. There's bark off of it. There's the dead branches on it, big dead branch hanging out.
Well, why didn't the guys take those in the first place?
They were going to take it down, and I believe you stopped them.
Oh, right.
So you stopped them from getting the last 2 trees?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you're pretty mean.
I am terrible. I would suggest in this case, John and I go out and take a look again at those 2 specific trees.
Right.
And see if he needs an arborist as well, or whether we can say yes or no.
Yeah.
Whether we can agree that they're in bad shape.
Yeah, if it's obvious they're in bad shape, then it's sort of a done deal.
Yeah.
Can I make another suggestion, just for his clarification?
Yes.
That he should also leave the stumps within 30 feet, but I think we would be open to him removing the stumps further away, which would give him more room to do replanting anyway, if you're open to that.
Yeah.
They're gone now anyway, so.
Yeah, because he's going to need the area for storing, I guess.
Yep.
If you agree.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Sarah, you okay with allowing the grinding or stump removal beyond the 30 feet? If he wants to use the additional land for clearing, for whatever is going on there.
If I want to what?
How many would get ground and how many would get left?
Anything beyond 30 feet could be ground if they're already cut.
So.
I guess that's okay. It's gonna look really weird to have a bunch of,
Right.
stumps that stick way out of the yard.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like there's maybe,
It's hard to tell. I'd have to go back out there again. Maybe 8 or so that would get potentially ground.
If he wants to.
If he wants to. But then the remaining, whatever, 3 or 4 stumps that are closer
They would have to remain.
left, yeah. Plus, I just
So
said.
do you understand what was said?
The one is wondering about the 2 trees that he'd like to take down and thinks are dead. I was saying you and I would, one of us would
So,
take a look.
here's a summary for you. The staff, John and Eileen, or one or both of them, will go out and look at those 2 trees
Okay.
and determine whether those 2 trees can be taken down if it's obvious that they're diseased or deteriorated or whatever. If they're in great shape, if they think they're in great shape, then they would require, we often require an arborist to come in and take a quick look at them and see what someone, a professional says.
Okay.
That may not be needed. Okay? So that's the first thing that'll happen. The second thing that will happen is we're asking you to remove the slate 30 feet to 30 feet or beyond.
30 feet back from the brook.
Yep.
Back from the bank of the brook.
Okay.
Okay?
It's a lot of work.
I know it is. Unfortunately, I realize.
I can't start until April because they're all froze together.
Oh, gee, okay.
So it's all.
Right, understood.
April, I can start moving them.
Right. And then, were you going to receive an enforcement order that requires the planting of 12 trees based on 1-to-1 tree replacement? You took down 12, you need to replace 12, but these are 4, 5, or 6 foot trees maximum probably, and it's about a 1.5-inch diameter tree.
Okay.
Okay, so they're pretty modest. Okay, and you have to be careful. We require that native trees be planted, and they can help you pick the trees. You know, there's a wide selection of trees, but they have to be what is considered native species, and they can help you, show you a list of trees that you could pick from.
Okay.
Okay?
But
Is there anything else?
Well, that you had, about the stumps.
Oh, and the stumps,
the stumps.
if you choose to grind the stumps because you want a flat area,
I don't want a flat area. I like it the way it is. And I think they'll hold the ground better for the next 20 years if they're just.
but that's up to you. You don't have to grind the stumps. But we definitely don't want you to grind the stumps within the 30-foot zone,
Okay.
okay? But there's only like 4 of them, 4 or 5 of them,
Okay.
okay? You can, if you decide to grind them, it's expensive to grind. Grinding is expensive. It's very expensive.
Exactly, yeah.
I know. Not to mention, it makes quite a mess.
Yeah, that is.
So I think that summarizes it. Let me ask the commission. Sarah, do you have anything more to add with what the plan is?
I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. How about,
Kent, anything more to add?
Is there some requirement on the growing season or something? I mean, I can't enforce, but enforce how you do that, then enforce an order.
Yeah, how do we handle that, the growing,
Do we put that in an enforcement order, John?
No bond to withhold or anything.
Growing
so.
seasons.
Oh, you mean
to survive?
Have to survive a certain number of
Yeah.
growing seasons? It's hard to do that with
Yeah, it's like
enforcement
a way of-
because, yeah, there's no certificate of compliance or anything on this, so.
But we typically look for success of a planting if it's still alive after 2 years.
Okay.
Okay, that's what typically we do. Okay? Bill, anything more on this?
No, nothing further.
Rob, anything more on this? Ed, anything further?
I'm only looking at trying to help him at the same time that he's obviously got to move all that slate beyond the 30-foot mark before you can plant. So when is that planting going to happen?
Well, that'll be spring as well,
I think
potentially.
spring, the moving of the slate will be in the spring, correct?
Gotta be moved.
Yeah, and in April, I can't start till April because they're frozen together. That's why the tops are on them, because the snow, to prevent the snow from getting to expand and contract and destroy them.
And the planting would be after the moving.
So I'm saying you probably would be in the fall area to plant the trees. It's
Well,
gonna take
this-
a long
probably
time
in the
to move
spring.
all that slate.
Yeah. I assume you're not going to move that slate yourself, are you?
If I can get help, it'll be good. If I do it myself, it'll take a while.
I don't think that's going to be good for your back.
Yeah, I know, yeah. If you can get some help.
No, I wouldn't suggest that. Okay, so in the enforcement order, can we put in the tentative timeline, the timeline that we're asking for it to be done in the spring, the removal and the moving and the planting?
Yep, we can. And I'm going to put a note on my calendar to check back in with him in May to make sure we're working towards that.
Okay, so do we need a motion to adopt the enforcement order?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to have a motion from the commission to adopt an enforcement order for the violation of, at 10 Spring Valley Road, for tree cutting with a plan to move the slate in the first 30 feet and plant 12 trees in the 30-foot zone. Under Burlington Bylaw Article 14, it's issued, and under the State Wetlands Protection Act.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Somebody's coming out to tell me whether they can cut those 2 trees or not?
Oh, yes.
Yes, we
Yes,
will.
they'll talk to them. Yeah, just
all
talk
right.
to them, and they'll set a time to come out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we got to vote. Sarah, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bill, on the enforcement order?
Yes.
Rob? Yes. Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. By a vote of 6-0, the enforcement order for
10 Spring Valley.
10 Spring Valley Road has been approved. Okay, so we have a plan. I'm sorry you have to go through this,
Sorry,
okay? I mean,
it's life.
I mean, as soon as you cut the trees right adjacent to a bank, it caused a bunch of problems.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm very sorry for that, but hopefully we'll get it all taken care of when the weather improves.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your understanding.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Take care. Have
I have one more thing to add.
Yes.
In the spring, if you need help moving that slate, I'd be willing to volunteer to assist with that project. And I have people in my household who are stronger than I am who might be more use. Just throwing that out there. Let me know.
Very nice of you, Sarah.
Very good, Sarah.
Okay, so her name is Sarah. Write that down.
Twice.
Twice. There you go. Sarah, that was very nice of you to say that.
Good night. Good night.
All right. Next, we have another violation to discuss, 34 Cambridge Street. This is the Burlington Crossroads, clear-cutting bank of Little Brook.
I'll wait for him to go. I don't want to talk to him.
Good evening, sir.
How you doing?
Good. How are you tonight?
Good.
Sorry you had to wait all this time, but sometimes the meetings go even longer, so it's not bad as meetings go. Would you like to introduce yourself and say anything?
Sure. Ken Darling with Edens. So, you know, the process we had here was that we try to maintain the cleanliness of that stream that wraps around that outlet there. So over the years, we've gone back and forth in terms of trimming. We have quarterly cleanup there. We've installed a debris barrier. And every few years, you know, the amount of, invasive species gets in there and it just rips all of that stuff apart. So, you know, the intent was really to get that area cleaned up around so we can redo our debris barrier, get it cleaned up the way we wanted to, and then we would plant, like we usually do, the dogwoods and things of that nature.
Okay, so the sequence of events, John, is that it got brought to the attention of the Conservation Department. Did you go out there and look at it?
Yeah, actually, I saw it first.
You saw it first?
Right.
And
and I emailed a contact that I had, I think from, I can't remember, the Moms Project, or one of the projects recently, someone at Eden's, who obviously got in touch with you.
Yes, yep.
Okay, so before we go on over where we're going with this, if you have an invasive problem, John, and a bank that's just so big, is the best approach to just cut it and that solves the problem, or would pulling it out by hand do any better than what they did? I mean, I'm not sure I know the answer.
So in 2013, the Conservation Commission issued an order of conditions to Edens and Avant, as they were called at the time, for a project that they were doing. And part of it was the commission, so the applicant also sought to prune and top some vegetation along the inner riparian area of Little's Brook. It was agreed that any topping of trees, and lists box elder as the species that was there, would be mitigated by planting native shrubs lower on the bank. Removal of bittersweet would be permitted, but use of herbicides would not be permitted. So at the time, the commission actually let them top the trees. The trees themselves were not invasive species. There was invasive species growing, on them. There was vines and whatnot, but cutting down the whole tree isn't what the commission allowed then, and nobody's sought permission since. So that's what it looks like now.
So combination of vegetation that's acceptable and invasive species was cut down.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is, the commission was out there recently because the Salem 5 project was just before you. So this is looking through the Salem 5 parking lot towards the bank so beyond that second car is the area. As you can see, it was very heavily vegetated. So part of the problem is that, and I've discussed this with other people who may no longer be with Edens, they don't have a sign out front. The town doesn't allow them to have some sort of sign that says who the tenants are inside. So they've got a sign. They've got something on the side of the building where Total Wine is, and
a sign that says what?
It lists, it's a directory. It's essentially like a directory sign, which really there should be a directory sign up by the street, but because of the town's somewhat unique sign bylaws and whatnot.
That's very nice. Thanks for it.
They don't have that. So they put something on the side of the building where Total Wine is. These trees are blocking that, and invasives or not, I suspect that the main reason for cutting this was so that you could see the sign.
I see.
And that's a problem because, it's obviously, it's clear cutting the riverfront area, the bank of a perennial stream. This isn't just a regulatory stream under the bylaw. This is a perennial stream, Little's Brook. And it was done without any permits at all, or not even checking with us.
I'd like to go first to Sarah. Would you like to comment on the situation as described?
I noticed it too when I drove out that exit road.
I could not believe what I saw. I was just like, whoa. Anyway, is that considerable tree that I'm seeing on the corner there? Is that also gone? Like everything is gone? Could I see the most recent? I just made a mental note, like somebody clear cut there, but that's not allowed. I better tell people.
I'll
But
say
John,
I say your ones.
So just,
it looks like it was a rash move. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, they're very large trees. The large trees were not cut back.
Can't really see from those photos if that tree's there or not.
Get back to the tree line.
Okay.
That's all for me.
All right. Kent, do you want to say anything? I'm going to go to Ed next. Ed, anything?
I'm trying to think what Sarah was just saying, were you referring to that large tree in that previous picture, Sarah?
Yes, the one with the sort of round-looking canopy. I guess it's just out of view of these photos. You'll be to the far left of these photos.
I don't really have anything.
Okay, Rob, anything further on this?
No.
Okay, Bill?
I don't know what to say. There was obviously clear instructions in the past about how this site should be handled for the same reason that you had about visibility of the signs, and we offered a compromise solution that allowed the sign to be made visible by topping the trees and you know, taking care of the invasives. This is an unacceptable solution to it. I mean, it's just, and the fact that you had dealings with conservation before and knew that this area required dealings with conservation and didn't come to us before you did this is disturbing.
All right, I'd like to make a couple of comments. And the first is, I was going to say exactly what Bill said about the fact that you've had enough experience with a regulated area along a perennial stream on your property that I have to believe you should have known better, okay? Or there should have been better control over this happening. So I'm not going to say I'm upset. That's not the right word. I'll just say I'm disturbed that the management didn't recall how things were handled in the past and the sensitivity of this to being a potential violation of our bylaw and the state law, the State Wetlands Protection Act. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I'm particularly disturbed by the loss of all the canopy because one of the functions along a perennial regulated stream of the adjacent area is that it provides the shade so the stream can stay cool and function as it should for fish and habitat and all that. The problem is where you have removed the entire canopy and the sun comes from the west, comes from that bank over the west, okay? That's where the shade would come from. It doesn't come from the east. It comes from the bank side that you cut. And so now that shade is gone. And so...
In the middle of a heat island, too.
Yeah, in the middle of a heat island with all this asphalt on both sides of you. I guess I'm particularly disturbed by the loss of this particular shade because of how it's positioned. Okay? So that's the reason why I'm less than thrilled with this particular situation. Obviously, now I guess we're at a time where we have to talk to you about restoration, but we need to have, I think, a plan that reflects an aggressive restoration to recreate the value that those trees and shade provided.
Sure.
I think you sent something. Didn't you send something? Did they send some email to say what they had in mind? I had something here. Yeah, they did.
I believe the landscaper had recommended dogwood shrubs and stuff, but we will replant whatever we need to. We'll replant whatever you want.
Yeah. It says, you're going to do hand removal of bittersweet and multiflora rose is allowed along the vegetative strip along Littles Brook, topping of, so that's the previous thing.
Right.
Okay. So, did we get something proposed from them, Eileen or John?
I didn't spot.
I believe Ryan Leeming sent something to John. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, to John.
There was something.
And I believe it was just simply dogwood shrubs. That was what was recommended by our landscaper, but whatever we want to do.
The problem with dogwood is, depending on what you buy, it can be very slow growing and may not provide, at least for the next 5 years, the degree of shade that we'd like to see restored.
What you got?
They're experts in this, so I might be misspeaking, to be honest. But I think we need to come up with a plan that recreates the shade up to a reasonable height, with species that can be trimmed if they get too tall, obviously, if you feel that that's a problem. But where it's adjacent to a steep slope on the brook, something that provides a reasonable amount of shade up to some height.
Right. So I think the dogwoods was just, that was a snippet from the old decision that I was reading you. So that was included in my email to Ryan at that time. That wasn't a suggestion on his part. I think they need to hire a professional to produce a restoration plan that includes trees and shrubs. If they want to choose shady trees that don't grow to a particularly high height, that's fine, as long as they've got decent canopies and, that they don't grow really tall. And they can be planted lower down on the bank. It's pretty steep down there. But they need to hire a professional, either environmental scientist or landscape architect.
Come up with a plan.
To come up with a plan, a restoration plan.
Right. So I think the instructions, you probably want to relay kind of what we talked about here, so that the environmental scientist knows we're looking for a modestly aggressive plan.
Sure.
Two words, contrast. An aggressive plan that recreates, at some point in the short term, not too long, the shade that was destroyed. But I guess it is still true that you want to keep the height of these trees to a certain height for visibility purposes?
Well, it's also, we want to make sure whatever we put there that, it'd be better if it isn't, ground cover, because that obviously affects our cleaning ability, the wraparound. So anything that would kind of grow up and not sort of out would be a better product as well.
Of course, where the slope is so steep, planting some trees that grow at a pretty decent height is less of a problem than posing it at the top of the slope.
Yep.
I would think, because that way you could contain a consistent height, and you want to be able to see that sign on the building.
Ideally, that's why it's there. Yeah.
I assume that's one of your goals.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I guess we need a plan to remedy the solution, it sounds like.
We'll work on that, definitely.
Okay, so Sarah, would you like to make any comment now on the plan, anything further?
No, I think it's a good idea to get
a pro in to come up with a vision going forward, and just to make sure this kind of thing doesn't continue to happen. I think maybe if it was an expensive and carefully done undertaking, then there'd be less motivation to, cut it down again.
Okay. Ken?
No, I agree with you guys. I think it's good to have an environmental science come in and come up with a plan, and that's hopefully followed. And to Sarah's point, it's expensive, and that will allow for the future. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Okay. Ed, anything further about what's going on here?
I think it's the right thing to do is get somebody and they'll look at it.
Yep. Rob, anything further?
Yeah, I just think that, we had the planning plans from I think Salem 5, and then a little while back, I think there was that one Wall Street, that large building that sort of, they were very careful with, I think, the trees they were selecting. I mean, I remember you talking about the trees with the shade covering as well. So I think like a professional planting plan would be nice.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah, a good professional would be able to come up with the best alternative for the factors that we want to see in it and the factors that you want to see in it. You mentioned a few criteria that you would like to see in it. So a good professional hopefully would come up with a good balanced plan.
Yeah. All right, I have nothing further to say. I probably said more than enough anyway, so. All right, so is there an enforcement order that requires them to produce a plan to remediate?
So we haven't actually issued an enforcement order on this. We can. And I would recommend that you require that the plan be provided to you by spring in time for implementation and planting
I have
in
a
the spring.
question for either you or John on this. Would it be better to have them file a notice of intent because of the obvious, you think it's necessary? Because you get the advantage of, one, you issue a certificate of compliance when it's done properly, and you also get the enforcement. But I don't know if this kind of project really requires all that.
Yeah. You've probably paid more attention to DP has a position on this. Enforcement orders.
DP says, I can't remember the wording, but it's something that can be conditioned should use an order of conditions, right? Whereas something that's a good question.
No,
You know what I
use an
mean?
order of conditions if it's something that you would have approved.
That's true. Conditions.
This isn't
but that's
something that you
amendments.
would have approved initially anyway. So I think the enforcement order is the way to go, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's why I asked the question.
That's what it is. Okay.
All right, so what we'll do is it fair to say that at the next meeting, you'll table a draft enforcement order, we'll ratify it, and we'll say exactly what we talked about, hopefully. You could get a draft of it ahead of time, and I don't know if you even need to show up. I mean,
So you'll be the point person?
I'll be the point person, yes.
What address are you at?
The 21 Custom House Street?
Custom House, is that Boston?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in Boston. That's the old Custom House.
We're right next to it, yeah.
Oh, right next to it, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that's,
So you guys going to issue an order, what's it called again?
it's called an enforcement order.
Enforcement order.
And it will just require you to do what you've already just agreed to.
Produce our plan.
Produce your plan
Okay.
of what you agreed to.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
Excellent.
it'll have the time frame. So I'm recommending the time frame to be, the plan be prepared by the spring so that the planting can be done in the spring.
Right, and I assume you'll get them a draft of the enforcement order?
Yeah.
And so if there's any issues, it will be resolved and it will be tabled in front of the commission and we'll just vote approval of it.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. I think we're all set, right?
And so are you kdarling@edens.com?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for joining us. You probably came all the way from Boston to be here.
So I was checking out the property, so.
What's that?
I was checking the property out, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, have a good evening.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next, we have planning board comments. Anything?
Should we be mentioning to the planning board about the business being operated at 10 Spring Valley Road?
That wouldn't be the planning board, it would be the inspector of buildings.
Inspector of Buildings?
Yeah.
I mean, is that something the town would have an issue with? This guy doing business out of a backyard?
It's hard to say. I suspect he's been doing that for
40 years.
decades. So I'm not really sure how, I don't know.
I mean, if he does what we ask him to.
If none of the neighbors have complained about it in 40 years, the building department probably doesn't really want to hear about it, but if it's not a problem for the neighbors, I suspect that business is probably, kind of winding down.
Slate roofs are...
Well, what's most important is that the area get remediated and
Yes.
material moved.
Yep.
That's what I would be concerned with.
Was there a reason why he planted all the fruit trees there? Was there a neighbor maybe complaining that they didn't like seeing what?
No, he probably likes fruit.
We were kind of joking about that.
Yeah, no, it's true, to eat.
All right, subcommittee and staff reports, updates, anything in that category?
No, I was just wondering if anybody went to the boot camp yet. Oh, you did? How was it?
It was like feeding from a fire hose.
Was it? I didn't get to join
But
the
she
lunches.
did give all the slides. There was a lot of it was basics, and a lot of it I knew, and I was looking for those few gems in
Good
between
refresher, yeah.
that are something like I didn't know, type of thing. What did you think, Rob?
Yeah, it was really, really good. I mean, it sort of specified where in 310, the specific parts of the language applied to the regulations. So it was sort of really interesting to see which sort of
The actual sources?
yeah, it was, and it's sort of interesting to see where, this is, this is what's spelled out very specifically, and then there's some other things that are more other things that are for the commissions to decide. But yeah, it's very interesting.
And would you recommend it to the others who haven't made it yet?
Yeah. I mean, I think before the meeting, just speaking with Larry, that if we could share the slides.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Well.
Alicia did send them out, yeah.
Do you want to send the slides to the commission?
Yeah, I can do that.
Bill asked for them.
Yep. Great.
Okay.
I would like to see the slides. I was in no condition
To attend that
I can, in fact, you know what, I'll do it right now, because she actually sent an update to the slides, which I didn't read yet.
But, okay, while you guys chat amongst yourselves,
Okay, other business. Does anyone, I have a couple of things. Anybody have
I
anything?
have a couple also.
What's that?
There's the Civic Expo on the 17th.
I was going to ask, you guys are going to have a table at the Civic Expo?
It's what?
Oh, yes, we are.
It's 5 to 7?
Yeah.
5 to 7 on September 17th, the Burlington's first Civics Expo, 5 to 7 p.m.
On what time?
on January 17th. Isn't that what I said?
I thought you said December.
September?
Of course, I did not say that.
17th.
You misheard me.
So what will you be doing?
We are going to have a table. The department will have a table, and Larry, I think, is joining us.
I'll be joining you for the commission.
I'll be there.
If anybody would like to come talk with the people there, welcome to stand with us. You'd all be welcome.
I'll be walking around, seeing what's going on.
Well, there mightn't be room for you. We'll have to take turns, in that case, to be at the table. There won't be room.
The other thing I wanted to point out, this is just my personal thing. I think that I recently read that the amount of COVID virus in the wastewater is up by a factor of 5 from a few weeks back. You may want to each individually decide whether, if you're going to be in a room that's going to be that crowded, whether you want to wear a mask. I mean, I don't know. I don't particularly like wearing a mask, but I don't also want to be sick either. Anybody want to comment on that?
I wore one on the plane last week, so, I mean, it's the first time I've worn one in a long time, but I wasn't getting on an airplane or an airport without one. So.
Skip COVID if you can. I've never had it before.
Giant bummer. That's my contribution.
Okay. How sick were you, Sarah?
Experience. We don't need.
I'm not done with it yet. I have this Yankee Candle with me that I, take a sniff from time to time. I can get the faintest sniff from it, and it's been 10 days.
Really?
Plus, I have no energy, and anyway, just a bummer.
Oh, it sounds horrible. Okay, so that's it on masks. On other business also, Bill, this is directed at you.
Oh.
Yes. I saw a notice on the Burlington Buzz that our own commissioner, Bill Boyven, is going to be authoring stuff on that internet thing for about plants and animals. Would you like to mention it at all?
Sure. I have been invited to submit a monthly column. Nikki Cadillac is the primary person who runs the Burlington Buzz. It's a great source for local news, I will say that, especially without a print newspaper nowadays that really supplies the information. I don't know how she finds the time to report on every meeting. And one of the things she taught me, and I actually tried for the first time, was watching a meeting on, watching the replay of our meeting. I played it at double speed, which I've never done before. And you zoom through it, and you can still understand everything. 2 speed is a little bit much. I did it like 1.5.
Did she tell you that you skip certain people when they talk because they're very wordy?
But I thought that was interesting. So that's how she watches every meeting at double speed, and she summarizes everything and all the sports in town and everything. So anyway, she asked me to provide a monthly column, and she wanted me to write on environmental issues. And I said, yes, but I don't want to do it just on environmental issues. I also want to write sort of alternate stories on crazy animal stories that I have. Jane and I have had every kind of animal you can imagine over the years and have a wealth of stories, and I've always said I would like to write about them. do a book sometime maybe, and this will get me inspired, so I have to do one a month. The first one comes out Saturday, and I've already written 3 of them, so I'm getting motivated.
Is one of them about invasive species?
Not yet.
Not yet.
So anyways, yeah, that's coming out. Thank you.
In our office, we used to subscribe to the Burlington Union, which is obviously defunct, so we now subscribe, we got a paid subscription to the Buzz, and I'd recommend everybody consider doing that and supporting local journalism.
Yep, yep.
Right, yeah.
And if you remember a long time ago,
I have my subscription, I'm all set.
I wrote an occasional column for the Burlington Union.
Yeah.
On, Conservation Corner, I think it was called, and I wrote a few things on that as well, so. I did have another item to bring up, though. I listened to the Board of Health meeting, and you were there this week, talking about the Staples parking lot and that whole project. And they're going to make some attempt to improve the situation. Good luck. But my question to you was, they stated that things got immediately worse as soon as we shut down the pumping station. That's what the ownership said about the flooding there. Do you think that's true? Have there been any other complaints from people who've said it's gotten worse since the pumping station, or is that just something they came up with on their own?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't spoken to anybody else. I mean, supposedly they hired a hydrologist who studied it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not really qualified to comment on that. I mean, it's just...
It would take a hydrologist to figure that, if that was...
You'd have to look at the cone of depressions of specific wells and see if that cone extends onto their property and whatnot, so...
Generally speaking, I've looked at the study, the DPW had some studies done at one point many years ago, and they calculated the influence of the wells when they were pumping as far as the cone of depression.
Right.
And once you get out beyond 300 feet, the influence is minimal to modest at best. Once you're out greater than 600 feet, there's almost no influence whatsoever. But I've always been under the impression that there's probably some factors that contribute in a big way to the increase in flooding in that area and others, and other factors. I think one of the biggest factor is that the well field and the aquifer underneath is sort of like at the bottom of a basin. And I think all the development that we've had in the surrounding upland areas contributing excess water going into Long Meadow Brook and Sandy Brook and Vine Brook has probably, over the years, I don't know if it's just the last 3 years, but I think over time has contributed greater flows of water. That combined with the added rainfall from higher precipitation events, I think may be the two greater factors. And shutting off the wells, it's probably amenable to analysis. I'm not sure about that one.
But if all those factors, if they did any of them, raise the level of the pond, this is not an isolated pond, it's got a stream attached coming in and going out. Wouldn't that just increase the flow out the stream? It would be hard to raise it, I would think.
You're talking about raising the parking lot, not the pond.
No, I'm talking about the pond. If all these issues that Larry just talked about raise the level of the pond,
I think it raises
causing more flooding.
The average level of the wetlands.
I don't see how it could.
It may raise the level of the wetlands because the output at the Bedford Dam is controlled by a certain aperture. And Bedford is not about to lower that aperture and increase the size of the discharge.
Okay.
So if more water is coming in, either from the sky or from infiltration from developed land being converted from pervious surface to impervious surface, I would think the bowl has to handle it.
And it's not free to flow out that river when it wants to.
It's not free to flow out any faster.
Because it has a restriction. Okay.
Right.
I can see
but
that.
How this particular company, Brixmor, could prove that was the fault of the town of Burlington, that would not be an easy sell, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I think undoubtedly the development up gradient over the decades has increased the amount of runoff and the amount of water there. But in the last 10 years or so, maybe 15 years with stormwater regulations, I don't think it has increased. I mean, all the redevelopment we've done has improved stormwater runoff. There hasn't been much new development, you know.
But groundwater level can be affected by an increase in material underground because it usually follows topography.
Right, but if you're infiltrating, you know, half a mile away, it takes a long time for that groundwater to reach that site. Whereas if it just runs off on the surface, you're going to see flooding there quickly.
Obviously.
So,
I mean, yes, I don't know.
there's a lot of factors, and climate change can't be discounted as being part of it. I mean, we're getting more rain now. We're getting bigger storms.
But in the past couple of years, it's been drought. So
last year was.
Yeah, so, you know.
The thing that bothered me about, and I wasn't qualified to say this to Brixmor, but I felt that if the stream right by their property and the catch basin and the pipes and the pond there all seek a certain level, and so if water is generally a little bit higher in the stream, it's going to be higher in the pond, it's going to be higher in the parking lot, and no amount of you cleaning out a pipe that runs in, you know, that is like connecting two parts of our ocean is going to change the overall level. It's like this, it's going to seek its own level. If this is the level here, that's going to be the level affecting the parking lot. And so I didn't think them spending $150,000, I don't know who told them that it was a good idea, but I have no idea how that could possibly help the situation.
The Board of Health wanted to do it, and they are required to periodically maintain that basin as part of an old order of conditions from the commission anyway. So it does have to be maintained periodically.
But it's different between maintaining it for some storage, but basically expecting it was going to solve the problem.
Right. They're in the floodplain there. I mean, they're in the 100-year floodplain. They're probably in a even smaller floodplain, you know, 10-year floodplain or something. Their only solution is to raise the parking lot.
If they raise the parking lot, do they have any land on their property to carve out?
That's what they have to figure out, and that's what they're in the process of trying to figure out.
Have they thought about buying a small parcel to compensate that's contiguous at all? Is there a parcel that they could buy somewhere?
I don't know.
Well, if anyone wants to watch the Board of Health meeting from last Monday, it's interesting discussion, and you can also learn everything you need to know about keeping chickens in Burlington.
Well, there's not much to that, is there, Bill?
Boy, they had a good hour-long discussion about it the other night.
All right.
Got the Blanchard and Muller intersection. This has never happened before because I volunteered to take care of the drains, you know, adopted them.
Did you name yours?
I went down when it was at its max, the rains, in that first storm. I couldn't keep up with it. It was carrying stuff and debris from Oracle right out of their bike path, I guess you call it, or walking path. The water was like that coming out of their property, and it was just collaborating right in that intersection. I'm down there with my Bermudas, nothing else on my feet, and I can't move it fast enough.
Was it trash blocking the catch basins and stuff?
Oh, you look at it now, it's same thing all over again. All those bases are just solid with the leaves and everything else, totally blocking. For this storm coming up, tomorrow I have to go clean that out before this storm hits. But that first storm, my God, that was terrible.
What's the name of
this
that
water
basin?
can't go anywhere.
Did you give it a name? Did you name the catch basin?
Oh,
I suspect yours is Flo, right?
Mine is Flo, right?
I figured it was yours.
I mean, they didn't mind doing it, but I couldn't keep up with this.
I mean, Ed, I think a picture of you in the height of the storm cleaning that catch basin would be precious.
In your
One
shorts.
guy did take a picture from his car because he couldn't believe I was doing it.
There you go. Conservation Commission at work. I can just see the headline now in the Burlington Buzz.
And you should make sure you've got a Conservation Commission hat on in case that gets on social media.
Ed, is it right near your house? Is that why you chose it?
Because I know a problem storm drain that's not that close to my house, and I'm wondering if maybe I should adopt it and name it.
It's
I mean,
about 150 yards from the house.
Yeah, 'cause otherwise that intersection fills up, right?
That's really bad. It's got a history, but right now, I blame Oracle. They're not looking at this, well, if they could just slow it down.
Where's the problem one, Sarah?
Yeah.
This is at the corner of Terry Ave.
Right near Northern Business Machines, where it's sort of there's like it does a dog leg.
Going down
during
towards
one of the
Love
enormous
Street?
storms. It was just absolutely swirling maelstrom of debris, and it was completely blocked. I took a stick and was mad poking at it to try and limber it up, but it couldn't keep up either.
Amazing what brings.
Okay, does anyone else have anything else before we adjourn? Any comments? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, so Sarah, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. By 600, this meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission is adjourned. Good night.